In Boone's Mill, Virginia, Bethlehem Road leads you directly here, to a shrine where a supersized Donald Trump appears, Christ-like, on the front of this former church. It's now a place where his devotees demonstrate piety to their earthly Messiah by buying up Chinese-made Trump merchandise.
There's a Trump train knife all aboard. It's an unusual painting of the media as clowns. As your cap says here, Trump's still my president.
There you go.
The owner, Donald Whitey Taylor, had 3 meetings with Trump and insists business is booming, even as their president reluctantly leaves office.
He is the savior of the United States, but he's not God. Yeah.
Why do you say he's the savior of the United States?
The liberals have gave it away. Obama's the worst thing that ever happened to America.
There's a bit of a cult around Trump.
Oh, sure. People love him. They admire him.
So there's almost a religious devotion to him.
I'd say it's just a cult, yeah.
Donald Trump has taken advantage of this zealous devotion to stoke fear among his supporters about what Democrats might do now they're in charge.
No, we got to protect ourselves. We got to protect ourselves from the other side. Buy all the guns you can, get all the ammunition you can. If they start any crap, wipe them out.
There has, of course, already been violence. 5 people died, including a police officer, during the storming of the U.S. Capitol, leading to Donald Trump's second impeachment. While the mob were united around a perceived election theft, the crowd was varied. Militia members mixed with QAnon conspiracists and off-duty law enforcement officers. 2 of them were these Virginian cops who posed for a selfie inside the building, one giving the middle finger. The officers come from the small remote town of Rocky Mount and have now been charged with violent entry into the Capitol, which they both deny.
Tell me what, yeah.
One of them, Jacob Fracker, told me Capitol Police let them into the building and that they did nothing wrong.
You see officers moving the barricades and they're just like, hey, come on. They're like, if you're coming, come on this way. It's safe this way, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, fantastic.
The friend that you're with and you were pictured with is posting on Facebook, and you're posting on that Facebook page as well, saying, we attack the government.
The we being a blanket statement, you know what I mean? We as people who just want to be heard, people who don't want to sit by and let, tyrannical things happen.
We don't feel any responsibility for
Nope.
the bigger picture of what is now seen as an assault on American democracy.
No.
You didn't see any vandalism. You didn't see any of the attacks going on at all. Nothing.
Not that. Nope.
But it was going on all around.
It was, but not while we were there.
You felt that day that it was important because Donald Trump has supported the way you see America, right? Over the police, Second Amendment rights.
The military, national security, because, he said it best. America first.
Trump's mantra of America first is seen as a siren call for white nationalists. And Jacob says many see him that way.
A lot of it around here is just, oh, he's a racist, or oh, he's this, or I bet he was wearing his Klansman's robes that day. Is just like, that's, it's pretty silly. It makes me laugh, honestly.
What do you feel about that?
I don't care.
You don't know anything.
In a sign of how fractured Rocky Mount has become, this angry confrontation erupted after the picture of the officers emerged, supporters facing off against protesters demanding the men be prosecuted. Penny Edwards Blue has lived in this town all of her life.
The way that this case is handled, it is going to be a point of conflict in our town, regardless whether it's handled correctly or not, because either way, one side or the other is going to be upset.
Penny sees big problems ahead.
I believe a large majority of them are going to stick with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is about racism and white supremacy, and that is what they are ultimately trying to maintain. It's about power, and they're trying to hold on to that power. These people are taught this from the time they're small, and I know that because I grew up here.
Taught what?
Taught white supremacy, See, Trump didn't come in and radicalize. He just came and took advantage of what's here.
Second Amendment is for everybody.
Trump supporters have always believed that the president was fully committed to defending their constitutional rights. Most importantly, freedom of speech and the sacrosanct Second Amendment right to bear arms. At this pro-gun rally in the state capital, Richmond, militia members turned out alongside Proud Boys, the far-right group accused of racist thuggery, who Donald Trump notoriously refused to condemn.
He told us to stand back and stand by because, you know, they wanted him to declare us a terrorist organization, and that's not what we are.
Do you feel Donald Trump had your back?
I feel like he did have our back. I feel like things will change. I think Trump will go down as one of the best presidents in history. You know, history has a way of rewriting things, and you know, I think the man will be on Rushmore one day. We got room for one more face up there, and he's going to be up there.
Has he left America divided?
Division or not, this was bound to happen eventually with the great divide between the left and the right's ideals. You know what I mean? Donald Trump didn't have anything to do with that. There's been a division much longer than since he took office.
Yes, sir.
Gun shop owner Joe Phillips also believes his rights are under threat as the Democrats take control of the White House.
Right now what they're doing is overstepping the general platform of what this entire country was built upon.
So you feel you have to push back?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. People are at their wits' end and everybody is fed up. If a stand is to be made, it's going to be made. As far as the revolution is concerned, there's always been that possibility. If these laws violate the Constitution, then we're there.
You're ready for a new revolution?
Absolutely.
Joe's gun shop is in Madison, which has declared itself a sanctuary county, one of more than 100 in Virginia, where local sheriffs refused to recognize new gun laws brought in by Democrats last year. And with many here claiming the election was stolen, will they recognize Joe Biden?
We probably will not recognize him as our president in the same aspect that a lot of the left has been screaming, "Not my president," the entire time of Trump being in office as well. So you probably will have that across the board.
Will these sanctuary counties basically become semi-autonomous, and will they still look to Donald Trump as their leader?
I suppose they could to an extent. I don't know as far as looking at him towards leader if he's not in office, but we may have to take things into our own hands and set up something to the extent of being our own republic, if you will. He'll for sure always be a symbol of what began this historical movement.
The battle for the presidency is now finally over. But for the Trump true believers, their fight for the soul of America goes on, even though their revered general is no longer issuing the orders.
Inigo Gilmore with that special report. Well, joining me now is Mark McKinnon, a Republican strategist and television host who worked for President George W. Bush and was a campaign advisor for John McCain's presidential bid in 2008. Fantastic to have you back on the program, Mark McKinnon. Let me start with a rather odd question, but it's been on my mind. When Trump travels to Florida to retirement tomorrow morning, he will have with him for 2 more hours the nuclear football with which he can launch, you know, the nuclear attack with the nuclear codes. Now, is that something we should be worried about?
Thanks, Matt. Nice to see you. No, I don't think so. I think at this point, all the damage has been done, although we've said that many times over the course of the Trump presidency. But listen, I think that I think we're going to have a transition over the next 24 hours. Today will be the last day we say the words President Trump, and tomorrow will be the first day we say the words President Biden. So, listen, we're turning the page here. This has been a dark and tragic month in American history, and we've seen a lot of damage done. But the security right now, as you know, is, I mean, the only crowds in Washington, D.C. right now are people in camouflage. I'm a block from the White House, and I can't go anywhere, and my hotel is just me and the National Guard. So I think we can feel safe that this transition will now happen in the next 24 hours, and tomorrow we'll have a new president.
But in terms of the legacy that Trump leaves behind, I mean, first of all, he'll still be occupying the limelight because he's going to have that trial in the Senate. But also the fact that 64% of Republican voters think that Biden is not a legitimate president, that 147 Republican lawmakers on the Hill voted against the result of this election. As a Republican, surely that must worry you.
Oh, it does, deeply. And the really chilling number to me, Matt, is the number of 45% of Republicans who actually supported what happened at the Capitol. I have no words for that. And that's not the Republican Party that I know. I mean, the one thing we do know is now, particularly because of last week, that Donald Trump will no longer have the monopoly hold that he has on the party. He will always be a cult figure. He will always be adored and idolized by a portion of the electorate on the Republican side. But there are clearly now people like leadership positions like Liz Cheney and even Mitch McConnell who are now stepping away from Donald Trump. And when he's not president, that power dissipates pretty quickly. I know he thinks he would want to run for president again, but he may be denied that through the impeachment process or other legal proceedings. So the fact is that I think we've seen the very height of Donald Trump's power. And listen, he's the only president that's ever been impeached twice. He lost the Senate, the Congress, and the presidency, which is, those are the legacies that he's leaving behind.
But for American democracy to function, you need two viable, stable political parties, and that includes the Republicans. Do you think that the Republican Party can make that journey back to where it was, a moderate party?
It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick, and I don't know what shape it will end up, whether it's moderate or not, but I think it's going to be different. It's got to evolve. It's got to, in politics, you evolve or you die. And so, that's what the Republican Party will have to do, or it will be a minority party into the indefinite future. So there's a lot that has to happen. But listen, there are some optimistic things out there as well. 67% of the country thinks that Joe Biden has handled this transition process well. That includes a lot of Republicans. So I think that Joe Biden is already getting very good marks from not just Democrats, but independents and people across the board. So that's a good signal. And listen, we've got a lot of work to do, but hopefully the worst is behind us.
Okay. Mark McKinnon, thank you very much indeed for coming on the program. See you on the street tomorrow.